Hello everybody, Locha for Life. You're bringing us a brand new video, and today we got a discussion video. I am genuinely surprised this series is getting an anime. And you can already tell from the title, but we're talking about World's End Harem. World's End Harem is a manga that I came across, I want to say about a year or two ago. It feels like two, it probably wasn't. But it feels like it. And the series is, how do I say, a bit spicy, actually very spicy. It is borderline hentai. No, wait, no, I'm just gonna be 100% honest. It is hentai. Okay, I'm just gonna be 100% honest. It is. Okay, almost every chapter has a scene. If not every chapter, it's almost every. It's like every other, and it is insane. Okay, now that being said, I've been seeing a lot of people trash talk it, saying that it's complete garbage and it's super slocky and yada yada yada, and I get the feeling that people have just heard the idea of it and read the back of it and just made an assumption, and I can't fault you. Okay, the just title alone, World's End Harem, makes you think of crap like Monster Musume or what's another really big harem series, Tenchi Muo, you know, stuff like that, where like, ooh woo, I'm gonna fall on your titties, and then we're gonna blush, and you're gonna yell at me and call me baka, and it's not. The series is not your standard harem series. It just isn't, and it's crazy for that, okay? They could have easily taken the premise of World's End Harem and made it into a comedy, ecchi series, and drag it out for however long they want. And I mean, honestly, I don't know how long the story is going to end up being. But however, it's not that. It's actually got a really interesting, compelling story that makes you question just what the hell is going on through a lot of it, and brings up psychological points of how men and women act and react to situations like this. It is crazy, okay? So what the heck is World's End Harem? Well, I probably should explain. So, World's End Harem is a series that takes place in the not too far off future. I think it's like 2050, something like that. And we follow 6 or so men, starting off with Reito, who are the last remaining men in the world. And by men, I mean literal just men, people with Y chromosomes. Every other man in the world has been put into cryostasis or 6 feet under. Because suddenly, out of the blue, a virus just swept across the world and killed almost all of them. This virus, dubbed the Man Killer Virus, or MK Virus, which literally just makes me think of Mortal Kombat, basically, once you are infected, you are basically dead. You aren't basically dead, you are dead within a day or two if you're lucky. They don't ever show what happens to somebody who's infected, at least so far. I mean, they might in the future eventually. I hope to God not, because from the description of it, it sounds... It makes the Black Death look like a small skin rash. So yeah, it's bad. This virus was bad. They can't do anything about it. No cure has been found for it. So they put all the guys in cryostasis who still were lucky enough to be alive. But however, cryostasis just slows it down, and they too will eventually die from it. Reito is basically the main character, and honestly a part of me wishes the series would just focus on him, but it does focus on the other guys who survived as well. Reito, just before the virus hit, was a med student who basically was working under this really world-renowned doctor. His girlfriend, or kind of sort of girlfriend, he was about to ask her out and confess his feelings and everything, but I mean it's so obvious they both are heads over heels, I think that's the phrase, in love with each other. They just hadn't made it official yet, and he was about to, and then the dude gets diagnosed with scoliosis, and they're like, crap. So basically, in the world of End Harem, because of how good medical technology has gotten, almost every single virus has been cured, and those that haven't, they are still working on it. So they put them into cryostasis until they can find the cure for it, and whenever they do, the robots will automatically apply it. Basically, the doctors just basically work with the robots and talk to the people, and the robots themselves are the ones that are working on it. Basically, imagine like as if like you have robots constantly on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just working on a vaccine for viruses and trying to find cures for diseases and all that fun stuff. So the world became too reliant on all this, and whenever the virus hit 5 months later, after he was put into the cryostasis, suddenly his girlfriend, well, not girlfriend, but basically girlfriend, disappeared. Her research was stolen or destroyed because she was studying the virus, trying to find a cure for it, and all the machines that they have working on it mysteriously stopped working. And anytime that they try to go and start working on trying to find a cure for the virus, things get thrown in the wrench. I mean, a wrench gets thrown in the gears, and something happens that causes the research to be either slowed or drastically altered or destroyed. In other words, government cover-up, which is really interesting. Because when Reito wakes up, the government's like, hey, you are one of the few remaining guys who are still alive. We want you to bang as many women as you can, pop out as many kids who are immune, get the world back going. The thing is, he doesn't want to do it at all. He wants to find his girlfriend, find her research, finish the cure. Because why should everybody stay locked up in the cryostasis just waiting to die? He doesn't think it's right, and quite frankly, it results in some really good tensions between him and the government, and makes it to where he is constantly at odds with the people who are technically on his side. It results in some really funny comments from the people in the government who are constantly like, why is he not doing anybody? You'd think that a normal straight guy would be wanting to go and bang as many women as he wants. And they do delve into that idea as well. Because again, Reito's not the only one who is, well, immune. Every other person who is immune was also diagnosed with scoliosis. I wonder if there's some sort of connection there. And by the way, he is cured of scoliosis. They find a cure and wake him up, and that's how they also find out that, oh, hey, he's also immune to this. At least they think it is after they tested it out with some other people. But anyway, speaking of the other people, as I mentioned, there's a handful of other people who are immune as well. I haven't read the full thing yet, and I got caught up to the scanlations a few months ago, and I really want to catch up soon too, because it was getting good. Like, holy crap. So there's two other guys that are important to the story at the point that I have been as well. The other guys, I'll be 100% honest, I can't remember their names because they are not nearly as interesting as Reito in terms of his story, but they are interesting in other aspects. So I'm going to refer to the one guy as Jock Dude and the other as Nerdy Guy. So Jock Dude, he's your stereotypical, like, man's man, kind of, to an extent. They talk a bit about his past, how he didn't really have a dad, and how he was a ladies' man, but always failed at it. And then, oh, hey, he gets diagnosed with scoliosis, gets put into cryostasis, wakes up, and this dude, you know, he takes advantage of the fact that he's supposed to, well, I'm trying to avoid the YouTube censors here, but you know the picture. He does take advantage of the fact that, yeah, they want him to do it with as many women as possible, and he loves it. He gets to have anything and everything he wants. He can have any food he wants, living the life and everything, and any woman he wants. His favorite actress? Boom, done. His favorite singer? Boom, done. Literally. And he takes advantage of it big time. Eventually so much to the point where he becomes bored of doing it and becomes kinkier and kinkier and kinkier, and not in a good way. He gets super into hardcore BDSM, or at least it's implied, and he takes advantage of that big time. But however, he still there's a very interesting dichotomy about that because while yes he does get bored of doing it, he at the same time gets giddy with excitement at the thought of being a dad. There comes a point where Reito escapes from the compound that he's at, and he asks the guy if he wants to come with him because they're pretty sure the government's evil, the real government that is, and I'll get to that here in a minute. And the guy's like, no dude, I have 20 plus women pregnant, I don't want to be the deadbeat dad who leaves everybody alone. So I'm going to stay and take care of them and make sure that they are okay too, just in case. And he also uses the excuse of then he also has an inside guy inside. But, like, he doesn't. Because, I mean, how's Reito going to contact him in the first place? So that is really cool of him. He hangs up the call and he looks at all the pictures of all the women he's done it with who are pregnant, and he's just so happy. He wants to be a dad and he wants to be there for the kids and be there for the women he's done it with and everything, and try and actually be a father. I don't know how he's going to be a father to 20 plus kids, but hey, try it, dude. You can do it. And then there's the other guy. Nerdy guy. I think his name's K. I'm not entirely for sure on that, so I'm just going to call him Nerdy guy. So, Nerdy guy, stereotypical nerd, gets bullied as all hell, has a super frail body. The jocks and the gyarus at his school would basically turn him into their own little handmaid, make them go out and buy them their drinks, and then they would burn their cigarettes on him, and all the time he was verbally and mentally abused by everybody in his life. And then diagnosis scoliosis, put into cryostasis, wakes up, and now all of a sudden all the women who were being mean to him when they were in high school want him. And some of them just want to apologize because they've grown up and they've realized that, oh crap, we were real jerks back then and everything. And he starts off still being this really meek and just kind kid who is just happy to do it with his teacher. I'm not joking, because his teacher was the only person who was nice to him back then, and she was the nicest person to him then, and it results in that relationship. And then the instant they find out she's pregnant, they take him away, and that screws him up. Taking him away, that security of his teacher, screws him up big time. And then he starts getting he basically takes his revenge on the girls who did it, who were mean and abusive to him. He becomes what he hated at the time, becoming a verbally and mentally abusive and controlling person. He acts like a nice guy until he needs something from you, and then he torments you and everything. And it is really interesting because at the same time, while he does this, the inside of him, the meek, nerdy kid who just wants to be nice to everybody, is still trying to take over. And it becomes kind of like Darth Vader. Like, if you ever looked into the psychology of Darth Vader, he's constantly fighting between Anakin and Darth Vader because Darth Vader is like a separate personality. It's kind of like that, okay? Where he develops a second personality that is all about power, and his handler by the government is just as malicious, and she's freaky. Okay, and then there's the final guy who, at least at the point that I'm at, who I'm just going to call businessman guy because I've only read 3 chapters with him so far, and I don't remember his name. But anyways, he's your standard businessman, has an affair before everything, at least I think it is an affair. It was either that or it's kind of doesn't explain it very well, but however, it's either an affair or a out of before wedding pregnancy and everything. And everything was about to hit the fan, and then he gets diagnosed with scoliosis, put into cryostasis, and he wakes up with a rather rude welcome. So basically, while he was still in cryostasis, the pod that he was in gets abducted by a group of terrorists. Terrorists, quote, they're really cultists who think that the men who are immune are the chosen ones by God and stuff, and that it gets really freaky. Really freaky cult stuff, and they capture him, wake him up, they abuse him, they beat him, they feed him these drugs that make him horny all the time, basically, and it results in him eventually becoming the kind of sort of leader in a sense. At least that's where it seems to be going, because they think that he's again, blessed by God or something, and all that crazy stuff. And I'm not going to go too much into detail about the cult because they are very plot relevant in terms of some other characters in the story. But however, what I do want to touch on is what is probably my most favorite aspect of the series is the fact that, again, government conspiracy, and you can't trust anyone in the series. It is so, like, I almost want to say nerve-wracking because you don't know who is a good person and who isn't. So, after the fall of mankind, in the sense that men are dead and women are taken over because there's nobody who's left, in the rummages of that, a new power emerged. I believe they're called like the United Women or something like that. They are a group of women who are basically puppet masters to the entire world's government. They have basically managed to become a new version of the United Nations in a sort of new world order. There's only a handful of countries that refuse to work with them. I think the United States is one of them, and they are basically totalitarian cyberpunk kind of government. They don't like anybody going against them. People who talk against them, and their rhetoric are labeled as terrorists or traitors. And rather than trying to find a cure, they're focusing on trying to find a way to make it to where women can breed without needing men. And it is heavily, actually at some point, it is directly proclaimed that the women who lead this shadow government hate men with a burning passion, and that it is heavily implied that this government not only tried to kill off Reito's girlfriend, destroyed her evidence, and actively kill the people who are trying to find a cure for the virus, because there have been multiple attempts and there have been multiple close calls to finding that cure, and then something happens. People die, people go missing, the research is destroyed. What the hell happened? And this results in some serious tension. You don't know who is good at all. After Reito and his entourage escape this facility, you don't know who to trust. And I say entourage because he has his doctor, who was assigned to him. He has his bodyguard who was assigned to him. You have a scientist who escaped with him, and then his handler escaped with him. Okay? If I remember it, that's everybody. And you don't know who's truly on his side. Like, it is heavily implied that somebody, one of them, is not a good person and is working with the shadow government. And you don't know who. They don't show. It's heavily implied who it might be, but that could be a red herring, and it could be somebody else. You don't know, and it's so good. It builds up so much tension. There's at one point where they speak to somebody who was a member of the facility, or who was quite possibly Patient Zero's wife. Okay, and they speak to her, and she heavily she's scared to say any real info on it, and but she's like, okay, come back later and I will gather the courage to tell you all that I know. Well, in the very next panel, after everybody leaves, somebody opens up the door and she's like, oh, so you were the one, and then bam, she's dead. And then, oh no, now we don't know who, now we don't know any info from Patient Zero's wife. It is that freaky, and they do that all the time where they'll show like a hand or something and you don't know who it is, and I love it. It's one of those whodunit kind of things that makes it really, really interesting, and I love it. I like really wanted to pick back up the scanlations and read it again because I haven't read it in a while. I'll be honest, I caught up with the scanlations about 2 months ago, and then I just got so busy with school and everything that I wasn't able to keep up. But it was good stuff. Like, this is a better series than people give it credit for. I'm just gonna say that right now. Is it the greatest thing ever? No, it is not. Again, there is like a sex scene every other freaking chapter, and you know, it's super, super detailed. They show everything except for like the actual key going into the keyhole, and that is about it. So I won't lie, I am excited to see this animated, see what they do with it. It's going to be interesting, especially to see if it actually picks up. You know, we had interspecies reviewers do really well last season, or I guess it was this season technically, I don't know. But interspecies reviewers did really well, and that's probably what got this series greenlit for an anime as well, because of the fact that interspecies reviewers did so well. And this is the exact opposite of interspecies reviewers. Yes, it still has a lot of nudity, it still has a lot of fun stuff, but however, it's a much more serious story. It reminds me a lot of a comic book series from here in America, or at least I think it was American, might have been French, something like that, called Y the Last Man. And that series took a very similar idea in terms of this, where one guy is left after a mysterious virus kills every man in the world except for one dude, and that whole series was actually more about trying to it was very, very similar to this, except it wasn't a government thing, it was just one mad scientist, if I remember right. So that really is like kind of the groundwork for why I'm so interested in this, because I want to see where they go with it, with this concept and idea, especially since Y the Last Man got really weird towards the end. Really, really weird. Especially with character relationships and stuff. Again, really weird. The other big thing that I'm personally looking forward to in terms of World's End Harem is seeing the internet reaction to it. As I said before, the women who run the United Women's League, or whatever the heck it's called, are man-hating feminazis. Feminists. I'm probably going to get my video buried for saying the femina, you know what. But they are man-hating women who want men dead. And you know, if you consider how many times Kill All Men has trended on Twitter, and just how vitriolic third-wave feminism has gotten, you know, there are some people who would maybe look at World's End Harem as a possible, like, utopia in terms of what humanity can go to. Again, it is directly stated that in World's End Harem's world, they are trying to find a way to make it so that women can breed without the need of a man, and apparently they're pretty close to it. And they heavily imply that once that happens, the shadow government will start a huge propaganda campaign to make women want to do that more than to, well, revive their brothers, uncles, cousins, sons, fathers, etc. Because why do that when we can just have more kids with women? And oh hey, there's no sign of a vaccine in sight for the man killer virus, so why worry about that? That is going to be interesting, especially since, oh god, the internet backlash to it is going to be glorious, and I really can't wait. But I digress. What do you guys think? Have you read World's End Harem? Are you looking forward to the anime? Personally, I am. Talking about it right now and talking about how actually surprisingly good it is has got me really wanting to go and read the scanlations again. I gotta figure out which chapter I was on though. Oh god. So what do you guys think? Rate, comment, subscribe. Stick around for other videos talking about figures, anime, video games, etc. And see y'all later. Rate, comment, subscribe. Peace out.